Mary?
A pierced heart. That's what he told me. Now I know what he meant. You know, it's funny how we think that we can predict the future, how we assume plans are going to happen just like we think they will, and how we think we know exactly what tomorrow will bring. My story is a testament to the exact opposite of that. Because my life was mapped out. The plan I had for my life was simple, because that's exactly what my life was. Simple, predictable, normal. I was young and engaged to be married and destined to live a life that was never have been written about or spoken of or remembered by anyone. That was my plan. Until suddenly, it wasn't. Surely you must know my story. The angel, the promise of a baby, the promise of raising a son, the Son of the Most High, I was told. Yet how it would all unfold, where we might go, what my fiance might think of this whole immaculate conception thing, those details I had no clue. All the angel said was that nothing was impossible with God. Yet nothing happened like we planned. Going into labor while traveling to Bethlehem, giving birth in a stable because there was no room available in the inn, wrapping the Son of Most High in old cloth, and being forced to lay him in a food trough because there was nowhere else to lay him. I would have never planned any of that, but that's how it happened. But I didn't care. The trials and inconveniences I faced were nothing compared to the joy I held knowing I, Mary, among all others, was chosen to fulfill the promise to be the mother of this most holy child. It was nothing I could have planned of or dreamed of, but it wouldn't have changed a thing. After he was born, we brought Jesus to the temple where we met an old prophet named Simeon, who scooped Jesus up in his arms and gave thanks to God for him. Like he even knew this baby was destined for greatness. But in his great joy, he turned to us and said words that I didn't understand but would never forget. He said, "This child is destined to cause the rising and falling of many in Israel, so that the thoughts of many hearts would be revealed." Then he looked right at me and said, "Mary, a sword will pierce even your heart too." Like usual, I had no idea what this meant. All I could do was treasure how I felt, what I saw, what I heard, and keep raising this boy. This boy, though, I loved him so much. Just as any mother loves her son, I knew he was destined for greatness that I didn't fully understand, but I still had my own plans for him. Just like any other mom, I wanted to keep him safe and secure and close to me. So when he disappeared on our way home from Jerusalem, when he was just 12 years old, I panicked. My worst fears set in. I had time to play out every worst case scenario because for 3 days we had no idea where he was. Just as I was about to give up hope, we found him. Just where we had left him, in the temple, sitting among the teachers and mesmerizing them with his wisdom and his answers. Yet I could not have cared less. All of my pent-up panic had turned into anger. I burst up to where he was sitting and interrupted what he was saying and said, "Son, how could you do this to us? Your father and I have been frantic, searching for you everywhere." But Jesus didn't apologize or want to leave. Instead, he seemed so confused as to why it took us so long to find him. He said, "Why did you need a search? Didn't you know that I would be here at the temple in my father's house?" On our way home, I was still burning in anger, but I couldn't help but think about what he had said, how he called the temple his father's house. I wondered what that meant and what would become of this boy of mine, this son that I had so many plans for, plans to keep him safe and sound plans to raise him to know God and to do good and to be good. And all of these things he was. We watched him grow into the man the angels said he would become. His words, his actions, his character, it all pointed back to the God that we worshipped and knew in Scripture. As he grew older and began pursuing this mission, we saw him less and less. But I watched his fame grow among the people across Israel. He became known to many as the one who could bring sight to the blind and life to the dead. The one who gives hope to the hopeless and healing to the broken. I also heard of the enemies he made. The ones who wanted nothing to do with him, and the ones who were trying everything in their power to get rid of him. I then heard of the thousands of people waving palm branches and bowing down to him in Jerusalem. But then 5 days later, I was hearing how the same people were calling on him to be crucified. I couldn't sit by and do nothing. I made my way to Jerusalem as fast as I could, not knowing what would happen to him or caring what might happen to me. I needed to be there. He was so many things to so many people, but to me, he was simply my son. I burst through the crowds with 3 other women trailing behind me. I had no idea where he was or what I'd do, but I would find him, and I didn't care what the cost. But then suddenly, among the crowds, I saw a man coming up the road I didn't recognize. I saw him struggling to carry a wooden cross up the hill. His back had been torn apart by a whip, and he was bleeding from his head where a crown of thorns had been pressed. But then I saw his face lift up and look at me. A face I had known for 33 years. A face that looked just like mine. There was no way to describe the kind of pain I felt in that moment. To know that this was my son. And to know that there was nothing I could do to save him. All I could do was just be there. We followed him to the place where they drove nails through his hands and feet and raised him up on that wooden beam. I watched as he suffered and struggled to breathe and mercifully give up that last breath. And it was in that darkest of moments, standing at the foot of the cross, looking up at that broken body that was my son, I remembered the words of Simeon from so many years ago. It was in that moment I felt a pain, a piercing in my soul. I knew that God's plan was greater than mine. I knew that he would let us this far and wouldn't stop now. I trusted in this promise of the new covenant and the resurrection, the good news. But why did it have to end like this? The Son of Most High, my son. I would have never picked this plan. I would have never picked this journey. I would have never picked this ending. Then again, I'm not God. I'm just someone who's chosen to do something, given a plan with an ending point, but no direction on how to get there. His ways are not my ways. His thoughts are not my thoughts. And his plans are not always my plans. And that, on this darkest day, gives me hope and pierces my soul. My name is Mary. My story isn't over. His story isn't over.